The Great Wall is a symbol of China that stood for thousands of years. Today I'm going to meet a British man who, alongside his family, has been working to protect this icon of World Heritage for over 3 decades. I've come to his apartment in the suburb of Beijing to meet him.
Come on in.
So you came to China more than 30 years ago, so can you just tell me a brief outline of your journey?
It began actually in the 1960s when I saw the symbol for the Great Wall on a map of China at school. A dream of the Great Wall for me began when I was 11. Luckily in the 1980s I was very keen on running, made a run along Hadrian's Wall, which is a Roman wall, a toy compared to the Great Wall, just 120 kilometers. And the connection kicked in there, and it was the perfect time because, you know, in the news was the fact that China was opening its doors to the outside world. That's when I first came here in 1986.
Where did this fascination with the Great Wall begin?
The first photo I saw of the Great Wall of China was, you know, just in a library book. And it just looked amazing. You know, I wondered, did the Great Wall look like that along its thousands of kilometers? Was it that steep the whole way? And there seemed to be nothing on the mountainsides. So really I wanted an adventure. And to go to the most distant place in the world at that time. Wow, as soon as I got here, I realized the Chinese people were extremely curious, always laughing and smiling. They gave me a bowl of noodle, a basin of water to wash my hands and face, and a place on the can to sleep. So I thought, actually, I have a chance of being the first foreigner to make a journey along the Great Wall on foot. You know, that was the big goal for me. So, yeah, it turned out to be the true life-changing adventure.
Can you just tell us about the efforts you've made to protect the wall?
Yeah, well, I think the true urge to protect doesn't necessarily come naturally. It was only when I returned to the Great Wall big time in 1994, living in Beijing, that I started to sense China was changing so fast, so quickly, that the Great Wall would probably be in danger. Why? Well, China's Great Wall was listed as a World Heritage from 1987, but it was only the tourist locations, you know, like Badaling, and the rest of the wall was wild, overgrown, and I called it the world's greatest open-air museum without a curator. So it suffered damage at that time. What was the damage? Litter. I remember I was so heartbroken and embarrassed, I began to pick the litter up, and that led to the first public clean-up of the Great Wall, which was in, I think, April '98. And since then I've been known as the most famous foreign garbage collector in China, but what I always say, it's very easy to be the most famous foreign garbage collector in China. I mean, you can easily clean up a place, but the fact that garbage is there, to me, was an alarm bell. So from that moment on I realised I had a life's work to do. There's been massive changes since round about, say, 2005. Actually, the first laws to protect the wall were introduced by the Beijing municipality in 2003, and then there were state regulations, I think, 2005. And of course, in recent years, there has been initiative to establish a Great Wall National Park. It's a very, very difficult concept, but it's absolutely necessary. And also to establish a Great Wall Cultural Belt, which is also very, very important.
Mr. Lindesay has written 8 books about China, with 5 focusing on the Great Wall. He also owns a country house at the foot of the Jiangke Great Wall, which he uses as a base to educate visitors about protecting the wall.
So we bring people here, could be foreigners visiting China, could be parents with their children, Chinese. I would say in the last couple of decades, hundreds, if not 1,000 plus volunteers have assembled here. They've been given a bag and they've marched down up to the wall and along the wall and come back 3 hours later with their bags full of garbage. We're the kind of people that believe the individual makes a difference. And I've seen with my own eyes how much people enjoy contributing, participating. The campaign has been good, and over certainly the last 5 years, you would see more people coming back from their walk with a plastic bag tied to their backpack with their garbage. And you know, there's been a great change in the last 5 years, certainly among the younger generations who've had environmental education at school and at university.
Mr. Lindesay's also made a number of documentaries about the Great Wall, together with his two sons, who also share a great connection to China.
We've attended pretty much every volunteer event that my father has led, as long as we can hike up or be carried up. Yeah, we enjoyed it from a young age. Maybe in the early years we didn't quite understand what we were doing, we're told what to do. But later on we realized that what we're doing has some significance.
Yeah. And I've led some of my classmates on these events too, and it has really affected them, their lives, and their view on conservation and the protection of our environment. And I think it has impacted our lives in a way that we are kind of following in our dad's footsteps.
Mr. Lindesay has lived in China for more than 30 years, experiencing firsthand the many changes in China over the past 3 decades.
I was invited to the big parade in central Beijing for the 70th anniversary of the foundation of China. And what an awesome event that was. And you know, even before the parade began, there was an amazing film of, you know, the changes in society in China since 1949. And I've seen like half of those changes. When I was in China, when, you know, people didn't queue because there was shortage of things. I was in China when a rail journey to Shanghai took almost 30 hours, not 4 hours. So the changes I've seen are amazing.
So talking about the changes that you've seen personally in your time in China, how do you think the CPC has contributed towards those changes?
I wouldn't say they've contributed, I would say they've completely implemented the changes. And most of the changes I've seen are truly amazing and, you know, highly admirable. And it works for China. And China's a big country. It's the most populous in the world. And to have a government that has a 5-year plan or even longer, and they go for it. And they deliver many improvements to the majority of Chinese people.
China, for Mr. Lindesay, isn't just a second home, but also a symbol of global interconnectivity.
I have 2 countries, because I've spent exactly half my life in Britain, half my life in China. If we have this more open world, we can get on much better together. I really believe in the strength of culture as a bridge to bring people together. And that's where I think my best input can be.